Hi, this is Catholic Ben. It's Holy Thursday. We've entered into the Triduum, the 3 days that are even the most holy days of the Holy Week, the height of the year for Christians. We're celebrating tonight, we celebrated at Mass, Jesus' institution of the Holy Eucharist and of priesthood. Tomorrow we'll be with him as he goes through the trial and death, and we'll be venerating the cross in our churches. And tomorrow, the Good Friday, is the only day in the year when the Catholic Church doesn't celebrate Holy Mass. And then on Saturday, we'll be accompanying him in the grave. And then on Saturday evening already, because the Jewish calendar always starts with the evening, we will be beginning with the vigil. That is, it means literally being awake. And we will be awake with Jesus. We will go through a beautiful Holy Mass. I like that Mass so much. It's the height of the year for me as far as liturgical celebrations go. It's a long one. Don't bring any kids with you if they're not able to stay there for a long time. It's a long Mass because usually you're supposed to have 7 readings that go throughout all of the history of salvation, all the way from the beginning, the creation, to the fall, and then through Exodus and the prophets, and then all the way to Jesus. And why is that important? Because our Easter is actually a new Passover. It's a new Passover where if the Jews passed over from Egypt with the help of God, from slavery to freedom, now we're entering from the slavery of sin, we're going to the freedom through Jesus Christ, through his death and through his resurrection. And that's so important to know, because with his death and his resurrection, God, somehow put a stamp on everything that Jesus said. He approved everything that he said, and he said, yes, this guy is a valid Messiah. This guy is really who he claimed he was. He is my son. He is God incarnate. Now, this is the key element of Catholic faith or Christian faith. If you do not believe that Jesus rose bodily from the dead, then you're not really a Christian. And, he's not asking us to believe this just on a hearsay. Actually, we've got pretty good evidence that God literally rose Jesus Christ from the dead in a bodily form. And we can go and we can research that stuff. Today we've been reading from Paul's first letter to Corinthians. And in the 15th chapter of that letter, Paul says something very, very important. And that, what he says, is extremely important because the first letter to Corinthians is, one of the most authentic letters by Paul that even the atheists and the agnostic professors and scholars accept as authentic. And it was written very early, in the 50s. And in that part of the text, in the 15th chapter, Paul goes even back in time. So if the beginning of the 50s would have been 20 years after Jesus' death and resurrection, he goes even back. He says, when I came over to you, so he's writing this a couple of years later, when I came over to you, I told you what I had received myself, that Jesus Christ, as it is written in the scriptures, he died and he rose again, as it is in the scriptures, and then appeared to different apostles, and he appeared to even 500 brothers and sisters who are still alive. So he was quoting the fact that Jesus rose from the dead, and it was something that he had received even before he handed it over to them. And with that, as Professor Gary Habermas explains, we can get in a very, very short time frame from the resurrection. We can get into, within months of resurrection, we can see that this narrative has been there from the beginning itself. And people have been willing to die for this truth. And they did die. Most of the apostles died. They had nothing to gain by claiming that. And this claim hasn't changed throughout centuries at all. This is the central claim of Christianity. And as C.S. Lewis says, if Christianity is true, then it's of utmost importance. If it is not true, it is of no importance at all. It cannot be something in the middle. It cannot be something, where you just attend Mass every now and then. It has to be the central part of your life. And belief in the resurrection is where it all hinges. If that falls, all of my belief system falls. But if that is true, then everything is true. Then there is a God. Then there is an afterlife. Then we are indeed saved from our sins. And that's what the resurrection is all about. And that's what Easter is all about. God bless. See you next time. Bye-bye.